Here we go again. Another weekend-long bus and metro strike in Montreal, barring a deal between the STM and the union representing the bus drivers, metro operators, and ticket counter agents. There will be no bus or metro service this weekend in Montreal. I find that totally unacceptable. The Quebec Labor Tribunal says that it will not impact the safety and security and health of the general public. And I disagree with that. Nobody thinks about the nurses and the people who work in the hospitals and the long-term care facilities who rely on public transit to get to work. Nobody thinks about the caregivers, whether it be private or from a company or from the CLSC, who rely on public transit to get to their clients, their patients. Some of them need medication, they need food prepared for them, they need care, and especially the medication. And if they don't show up, an elderly person could skip their medication. They rely on public transit to get to the clients. That is one of the most important things that the tribunal should have taken in consideration, because a lot of caregivers, whether it be the CLSC, whether it be private caregivers, rely on public transit to get to work. A lot of them cannot afford Ubers or taxis or whatever to get to their clients. And you'll see a lot of businesses will have absences. A lot of businesses, such as department stores like Walmart and grocery stores and Costco's and pharmacies and clothing stores and restaurants, there'll be a lot of absences. You will see a change in service. I could promise that. You'll see the lineups, because people, workers, a lot of them can't afford, especially shift workers, to take an Uber or a taxi. Also, don't forget, on weekends, a lot of companies like pharmacies and supermarkets and things of that nature, students usually work the weekends. And these students usually cannot afford Ubers or taxis. So there'll be a lot of absences. They will call in sick. They'll say, I cannot get to work because of the strike, and I cannot afford an Uber or a taxi to get to work because it's not worth it for me. It's like a day's pay. So I don't understand where the tribunal is coming from. We're saying it's not going to compromise the health and safety and security of the public. Please think of the caregivers, think of the elderly, think of the people who need care, that rely on these individuals to come to their home and give them care. And these individuals rely on public transit to get from point A to point B, and they won't be getting it. So it's affecting the public. It's affecting the people who give care to the public. People who work in hospitals as well. Nurses will have to walk to work. Elderly people need to get food. There's a lot of people who cannot afford to take Ubers or taxis to go to a clinic if they're not feeling well this weekend. There's a lot of, things that they need to take into consideration. But the one main thing is caregivers. That's the one main thing. Who rely on public transit will either have to make ulterior plans or won't show up to work, and that will compromise the individuals that they're responsible for. Even in long-term care facilities, there are caregivers that come and watch the individual and help feed them, because staff, as it is in the long-term care facilities, are, they're short-staffed and they can't watch all the patients. There's usually like 2 PABs for a whole bunch of patients. And so the caregivers usually take that burden, and if they're not there, it compromises the the care. If a PAB is not there and a caregiver is not there because they can't get to work, who suffers? The patients. So that's what I wanted to take a moment, because I'm enraged about this. This is totally unacceptable. Public transit is not a luxury. It's an essential service where people need to get from point A to point B. We pay enough for bus passes and bus fare. This should be resolved quickly. Hopefully there'll be an 11th hour deal, but it'll be very disappointing if not, and if this full weekend strike of no metro and no bus service happens. Come on, STM. You can do better than that.